Good morning, everyone. Just want to share something that I've been meditating on and just been spending some time thinking about, and that is based from Proverbs 3. And in Proverbs 3, verse 5, it says this. I'll read it to you. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight." And I know this is often quoted, and it's well known, and we've drawn a lot of comfort from the scripture over the years. And I think especially at a time such as this as well, where we need to be sensitive to who God is, and also it talks about positioning Him in our lives, but it also speaks about us positioning ourselves so that we can receive the fullness of who God is, and receive the fullness of God's blessing and promise over our lives. Now it begins, verse 5, it begins with saying that we need to trust in the Lord with all our hearts. And I want to say to you that trust, the foundation of trust is faith. Now faith is a noun. It talks about the substance. It talks about substance, and it's substance, and it's also about the evidence. Even though we do not have it yet, our substance and our evidence rests on God. And so it rests on our understanding of the sovereignty of God, and it rests on our understanding that He's still in control. It rests on His promises, on His word. So once that is settled in our lives and there's faith, from the position of faith, then trust happens. It cannot be the other way around. Trust rests on faith. And while faith is a noun, trust is a verb. It's a doing. And so people who have faith don't always necessarily step into trust. There are things that hold them back. But we are called to be a people of faith, but also of trust, of stepping out and stepping into the fullness of God. And an example, Peter had faith. And when Jesus called him out of the boat in the middle of the storm, that faith became trust, and he stepped on the water. Unfortunately, we remember him for taking the eyes of Jesus, of losing his faith, and he lost his bit of his faith because he looked at the circumstances. Then trust went away and he started to sink. But he had the boldness, he had the courage to take faith and put it into action. And this is what we are called to do in the scripture. At this time, when we're looking at what is happening around us, when we're contending for our family, for our loved ones, for our friends, for their salvation as well, when we are stretched, and our faith is stretched because of where we find ourselves, and we hear all these stories of people that are struggling in the season. We need to be a people of faith, and we need to encourage others to be a people of faith. And we need to speak life over the situation and encourage them, and also encourage them to move from a place of faith, which can be static for some, into a place of trust. In other words, stepping into the fullness of what God has for us. And so in Proverbs, we read that. With that in context, that in mind, let me read it to you again. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. In other words, let faith abound and let it rest in your heart, but begin to live it out. How do we do that? We don't lean in our own understandings. We don't try and define things by our own limited understanding, but we trust God. We say, Lord, I trust in you. I look at Scripture. I look at the leading guidance of your word, and I will acknowledge you. I will make you part of my life in everything that I do. As simple as from the way I do my work, from the way I have a relationship with my spouse, and the way that I want to bring God into it. And my trust, I want it to be evident in the way I do life. And so in such a way, in such a season when there's confusion, I need to be not just a man of faith, but I need to be a man that steps out in that faith. In other words, in trust. And so I acknowledge God in all my ways. I lean not in my own understanding. I allow the word of God to be my filter. And so I look at life, I begin to look at life differently. And so I want to encourage you, church, and for those that are listening in, to not just be a people of faith, which is what we have to be. There's our foundation, but then put it into action. Live it out. Step into it. Step out of the boat into the storm. And sometimes that is the best place to be, because it's faith in action. And we begin to see how God is faithful. The reality, it's one thing having faith here where we say, oh, God is sovereign. It's another thing of stepping out into a place that God's calling us to be, and then seeing that being realized in us and through us, because we have positioned ourselves in faith because of what God has told us. So there's going to be this two-way understanding. God positioned in our lives, and then we position ourselves intentionally to be a people of faith, and then to step out in trust. Amen. So I hope that encourages you for the week ahead. Allow that to be part of your thinking, and look at the way you do life. Look at the way you do even the smallest chores, and make sure that in all your ways you acknowledge God. So bless you. Have a great week. Keep your eyes on Jesus, the author and the perfecter of your faith. Amen.